Hi again, it's Ryan Miller with Etna Interactive, and we're back today for part two of the two-part series with some of my predictions for 2015, specifically for online medical marketing. So just take a quick look through those last 5 of the 10 predictions. I think we're going to see mobile going much more mainstream. At the same time, brand signals that relate to your identity and how it affects your rankings are going to become increasingly important. We'll look a little bit closer at the impact of reputation and how I think that's going to get quantifiable in the 2015 year. And we'll talk a little bit about the rise of local. Obviously, that relates back to the rise of mobile. And finally, we'll close out the predictions with a look at integrated marketing and how complex campaigning is going to, I think, find a home in the way you promote your practice this calendar year. So I think the first of the predictions that we want to look at is looking closer at mobile. Now, these graphics I think are really inspiring. This is from the Associated Press, looking at 2 major public gatherings, 2015 and then just a little later in 2013. And I think the difference is immediately evident. We are viewing the world today. We're seeing the world today through our mobile devices, through these little screens. And so when we look at that and we look at what the prediction is for the new year, we've got to recognize that mobile is really now the mainstream, right? Mobile is what everybody is doing. And so smart practices are going to recognize that and really prioritize mobile. Now, what does that mean for you in this new year? Well, it means that if you don't already have a mobile device, this is the year to do it. And if you do, it's the time to go back and look at your mobile performance. Is the site quick enough? Is the navigation easy to use? Are the calls to action that are going to drive and inspire mobile users to act, are those things clear? Because 2015, Google tells us, is the year, well, a bunch of things are going to happen, where their ad revenue, the revenue from search engine result ad sales, will come, better than 50% of those are going to come from mobile users clicking. And at the same time, we're getting reports that already there are more searches on mobile devices and smartphones than there are on the desktop. So clearly there's a reason to prioritize mobile. Next thing, and this is one I think that might be a little bit uncomfortable or unfamiliar for medical practices, but it's the rise of branding as a factor, as a signal that influences search engine ranking and visibility online. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that practices need to look at that unifying signal, whether it's the name of a doctor or the branded name of a practice, on which they build all of their online visibility. So it's the name that appears on your website, that appears in your social media, that appears in the answers that you supply to third-party websites, to the press releases that you distribute. Because increasingly, search engines are hanging their measure of your trust and authority on their ability to unify those things, to count them across a single brand entity. So what are the smart practices doing? Really building consistent brand references across all of those areas I mentioned as they look to promote themselves online in the new year. So prediction number 8, I think we're going to see this year that the impact of online reputation will finally be quantified for the medical industry. Now, if we think about online reputation for a lot of clinics over the last few years, it's sort of like that shark in the water, lurking below the surface. A lot of practices are worried about getting bit by it. And really now what we see is practices going out there and kind of hunting, if you will, fishing for a better online reputation. At the risk of overdoing the maritime puns, I think a tide has turned. I think practices finally understand that by cultivating a positive online reputation, by actively engaging with their staff on this topic, it is a force for success in the practice. So I think this is going to be the year that we see practices getting serious about reputation, and we see real data coming out to motivate that change. Now, there was a really famous report that came out in 2011. Some of you may have heard about it. Harvard Business School published it. And they basically found that for businesses on Yelp, I think they looked specifically at restaurants and hotels, a 1-star change in the rating. So for example, going from 3.5 to 4.5 stars, it directly correlated to a 5 to 9% increase in business revenues. Now, we've seen it in all of these other industries. We've seen those studies in hospitality. We've seen those studies in the restaurant business. We've seen those studies in retail. But I actually think we'll get some real data this year in medicine that quantifies it and helps to motivate you. But here's my recommendation to get out ahead of it. Now let's look at that next prediction, and I think we're going to see that online activities get more local. This is not surprising if the sixth prediction that started this presentation off today comes true, which is we see that rise, that increased use of mobile devices. One of the statistics that we have in looking at mobile usage is that local searching is one of the predominant activities that happens on our smartphones. So it's not a big surprise that we would expect to see local become a bigger force in 2015. So what is it that the smart practices are doing? Well, they're running local campaigns in parallel with search engine optimization. So if you think about search engine optimization, the goal there is influencing the organic web page results that appear prominently in Google's search engine results set. But it's different. It requires a different set of tactics, both to influence which paid advertisements or pay-per-click ads show up in response to local queries, local searches on mobile devices. And increasingly what we see is local searches are resulting in map packs or map results, and that also takes a different set of tactics. So definitely I think what we see and what we're focused on for our clients in the new year is how do we show up top of the page when mobile devices are searching with local intent. Next, as we kind of look to wrap things up here, we'll talk a little bit about integrated campaigning. Now, this is something that we've talked about before in newsletters in the past, and we have to recognize that, well, if we look back for many medical practices, the approach to marketing is a lot like scattered rocks on a beach, right? That you may have one vendor over here doing a little bit of public relations for you, another vendor that's doing some offline advertising, one or more vendors engaged in online promotion. And it's really the time to recognize that synchronization, that strategy, integration is going to drive better results. And we've certainly seen this with all of our clients. So I think this is going to be the year where the smart practice really embraces integration, where they look at complex campaigning that coordinates the activities and really a single message across multiple channels. So we would see, for example, the introduction of a new treatment or a new device in the practice result in the careful update of the website, an email marketing campaign, blog updates, social media activity, some offline promotion and public relations, all in one concerted effort. So just reviewing really quickly our last 5 predictions for the 2015 year, we really strongly believe that smart practices are going to be embracing and prioritizing mobile in their online strategy for the 2015 calendar year, that brand signals are going to be more important than ever to influencing search engine rankings and results, that online reputation, that this is the year I think that it really matures and practices shift from kind of running away or fearing reputation to really embracing it as a positive and productive strategy. I think we're going to see some quantifiable reasons for that to happen. I think online obviously gets ever more local as it gets more mobile, and our strategies need to adapt there as well. And then finally, I think it's time for all medical practices to look at integration across their online and offline activities to ensure they get the best result possible. Now that said, if you do want to learn more, you know how to reach myself and my entire team here at Etna Interactive, and well, thank you for listening to today's newsletter.